So here we are. This is malware analysis, and I don't plan to do a lecture from the book today, just some demonstration of projects. And so the first thing I'm going to do is more debugging demos with WinDebug, and then we'll do bootkits, which is one that took a little work, but I got it working. So we'll start with source level debugging. This is really quite easy. And this one you can do on Windows 10 or 11, and you can do it in Windows 10 on ARM. I just did it, and it worked. So I'll use Windows 10 and ARM. Of course, it'll work on Windows 10 on Intel as well. All these were written for Intel, of course, because Intel is all that existed at one time. But when I recorded for people that are using a Mac like I am with ARM, you can use a local install of an ARM machine for this. So you need to, now if you're using my pre-made machine, it's got everything installed, otherwise you'll have to install things. You need to have, WinDebug should be included with, I think it's included with Windows 11 now. Anyway, you can get it here, and you can get Visual Studio. And by the way, I'm using Visual Studio 2022, not 2019. It doesn't matter which version. You don't need to get an old version. And so then you'll have an x86 native tools command prompt. The one thing that is not obvious at all about Visual Studio we talked about is you have to open a special command prompt to use the tools, which is weird, but that's the way it is. So x64 native tools command prompt. I don't know why you can't just use a normal command prompt. I know Kali Linux is the same way. If you go through the menu, it will open a terminal, but somehow you have to open that special terminal or the tool won't work. So I guess they've set up special environment variables in the terminal or something like that. Anyway, the same thing is true here, so let me just make it fit on my window properly. There we go. All right, so here I am, and I think I've got everything ready here. So I made a directory. I've already made it there, so I'm just going to go to it. My app, yeah. And if you do a directory in there, I can remove this. There's other stuff from a different project that I can't do on this machine. Let's remove the infected stuff and delete the infected stuff and delete the partition stuff. All right, now do a directory. All right, now all I have is the C source code, which is what I wanted. And so you can look at it with Notepad. And it's a real simple program. It has a main function and my function down here it calls, and it sets some variables. And the point is B is set to 0, and B comes in as P2, and it divides by 0 eventually. So this is a program that will run for a while, but then it will divide by 0. So it's a program with an error, and that's what we want. So now we'll compile this thing with CL, Microsoft's command line compiler, and there it goes. So now it's made myapp.exe here, and I can run it. And when I do, I imagine it's going to crash or something. Okay, it didn't complain. It does have a bug. Anyway, so I've made a program, not terribly exciting, but the interesting thing is we're going to debug it. So we run WinDebug, which is here, and then File, Launch Executable, and go to C myapp, and launch it. And what happens, like every debugger, it loads it into memory, gets it ready to go, and then puts a breakpoint in and stops before it starts executing. And so it shows right here, break instruction at ntdil debugger break. So that's what every debugger does, although WinDebug shows you more details. So now we can try to find the symbols. We've done this before. If you want to find your way into an app, you usually like to look at the symbols. That would be my app, bang, star, say main star, if I'm trying to find the main location, and I get nothing. And even if I do star, I get nothing, because although my app, if I do LM to see what's going on, you can see loaded modules, but it has no symbols. I don't know the names of the methods or variables in this app because of the way I compiled it. The default compiler strips all that information away. And so you can't do debugging with symbols. So to fix that, I want to compile it a different way. So let me open the x86 again, or x64 command prompt again. Probably should have just left it open, but anyway. Go to my app. I have to compile it a different way. And that will be with the /ZI switch. There, my app. There. Now, I can go back to WinDebug. All right. And there, I can close it there. Good. All right, now I can run it again. File, launch, see my app, my app. Okay, it launches. It breaks at the breakpoint. And now if I do examine my app, bang, star, main, star. Oh, I got an exclamation point instead of a star at the end, so I got a lot of, now it has a lot of symbols. Really kind of too many. So I'll have to wait for all this junk to go by. But, okay, they're good. Now I wanted a star at the end, not a bang. There we are. Now I get a relatively short list, and it does include the actual main here, my app, a bang main. So that's where it actually starts, and this is the same thing we've seen in all the debuggers, especially in IDA Pro. At first, it puts you somewhere strange, and you have to somehow proceed through the startup code to get to the interesting code, the code that's related to the source code you put in. So that's what I want to do. I want to get to main, so I'm going to put a breakpoint at the main there and go there.
So, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Is the debugger that places the breakpoint automatically? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it put a breakpoint somewhere. Microsoft, the Windows has to load a bunch of modules to get the thing going, and it put a breakpoint in, but it ended up inside NTDIL, somewhere strange. And I want to proceed into the code I actually wrote.
Okay.
I don't know why they do that. Remember, IDA Pro does that too. Every time you load something in IDA Pro, you're inside some internal Windows component, and I have to hunt for the strings to get to the code I wrote. I don't know why it doesn't go right to the user land, but they don't. Ollie does. Ollie's nicer. But most of these things don't seem to think about you wanting to get to the user code. They stop you somewhere in the operating system. I never understood why. So that's why I'm going to have to put a breakpoint myself there, which is BU will set a breakpoint. I think it's U is unconditional. I'm not sure. Anyway, my app, bang main, there. So now I have a breakpoint there. Now I can just go. And now it will move to the actual breakpoint. And since I included symbols and there's source code in this directory, it will let me do source code debugging. And we've done this in GDB also. And this is, of course, the way a normal person uses a debugger. Most people, only malware analysts, analyze raw code with no symbols. A normal person has your source code, you're working on it, and we can now debug at this level. And so now it shows you the source code here, and even shows you the variables here. I'm in this module, it puts an arrow there, it shows me I have A and B, and at this point they're both 0. They haven't been initialized yet. So now I can step through it, step into, we'll step and a level of source code. So I'm on line 9, I step into, now I'm at line 10, it's about to execute this command. When I step into again, it now sets A to 2. So you can see it go here. All right. And that's source code debugging. And eventually, if you go ahead, you'll get it to crash, and you'll get an error message. Let's go ahead and do that. If I just keep going, step into, there's now set B to 0. Now it's going to call the function, and there, now it's in this function. And now if I step into long X is something. Now down here I have the other set of variables for the function. So X is now 7. And Y is now 0. And here's where it does the illegal divide. So over here I get an error, divide by 0 exception. So it's doing the same stuff you'd expect. Anyway, I didn't see anything on the canvas. Where should I access the project? All right. Everything is here at samsclass.info. Yeah. That's where you go. You go to samsclass.info, and then you click the name of the class, and here you'll find the schedule and all the projects. Projects are up here. And I recommend sticking around. I can help you interactively at 7:30. Then you better come on Zoom and let me see what you're doing, because if you're asking these questions, you've got a lot of catch up to do. So talk to me at 7:30. Let me help you. Anyway, all right. So that's all I think there is to that one. And let me stop this video and let's move on to another one. All right.